Hello and welcome to another quick tips video. In this one we're going to look at weed woes. I had an email from somebody in South Yorkshire whose garden is overrun with weeds and they just don't know where to start. And this is something that happens to a lot of want-to-be gardeners. They start out with good intentions, clear the soil, and then before they know it they've got every weed in their brother germinated. So we're going to have a look at my friend Colin's allotment. Unfortunately he broke his leg earlier in the year, and as you can see his poor allotment has been absolutely overrun with weeds. Now when he first broke his leg we were all really good and we came along every week to do some weeding, but it escaped. It got away from us completely. So as you can see, weeds everywhere. What I'm going to do is a method that is the quickest way I've found of dealing with weeds with the least amount of effort. But before I show you that method, it's valuable to know why the weeds are there in the first place and their role. Everything in nature has a job, and weeds are there to heal. It's the earth healing itself, because very rarely in nature do you get bare soil. It's not good for the microbes, and it's the microbes that are so important. Also, when there's living roots in the soil, it prevents soil erosion and the elements getting in. So just imagine if someone came along and ripped the roof off of your house, you'd be exposed to all the elements and you probably wouldn't be very happy. So that is what the weeds fulfill. They're like a scab, if you like. They come in, they're the pioneer species, and the weeds cover the soil, but also whenever there's anything living in the ground, plants put out sugars to attract the microbes, because it's the microbes that actually feed them. They are incapable of feeding themselves. It's the microbes that break down all the minerals in the soil and make them available to the plant. So the plants pump out the sugars. They also start to cultivate the soil by putting their roots down into it, so it helps aerate it as well, especially compacted soils with things that have got tap roots like dandelions. It's a very slow drill into the soil to help it. Also, weeds will give protection for the wildlife and also the next layer of species, which is the herbaceous and the trees. They create microclimates and also help disguise them from would-be predators. So weeds are really, really valuable. So you can see why nature has made it that they are so vigorous, because they are the repair crew. They need to get in and they need to be fast. Just like when you've cut yourself and have a scab, you need it to heal over as quickly as possible. So that's why weeds always grow so much faster than the plants you actually want. So now that we know that, you can work with nature and say, okay, you don't want bare soil, no problem. Here's the solution. You cover the soil. Now, the best things that I like are mulches, so either hay, leaves, bark, wood chip, whatever you've got. Manure is fabulous as well. But when you're wanting to kill the weeds off, what I do is trim it down to begin with. Now, I don't have a heavy duty trimmer, so I have to come at it in layers and gradually work my way down. So I get down as low as I possibly can. If there's things like tap roots that are really vigorous, like some strong thistles, those I will dig up. But otherwise, as I say, it's good to leave those roots in the ground, because they are, even if you cut the heads off the plants, there's still some nutrition in those roots for the microbes. So then, once I've trimmed it down, I will cover it with something that suppresses the light, so that all the vegetative matter, all the weed stumps, they can't regrow very well because they don't have the light. Now, my favourite is the membrane that has it's made from recycled wool and other materials. I like that because one, it's natural, and two, it lets the water and air into the soil. But I've run out of that because I did the other side of Colin's allotment. So the next best thing that he's already got a pile of is the black polythene. Now, I don't really like putting plastic onto the soil, but on this occasion it does a great job of killing the weeds, and also having something on the ground is better than nothing, and it will stop them regrowing. And then in the autumn we can put in a big pile of manure and build up the soil fertility that way. It's good not to dig the soil for the same reasons that, you know, you're not wanting to disturb the soil microbes and all the bacterias, and there's a whole ecosystem under the soil. They say that healthy soil, a tablespoon of healthy soil has 6 billion soil microbes in it, which just defies belief how they work that one out. But anyway, you get the point. There's a whole load down there. And, you know, if you think about it, imagine some giant coming along with a spade and digging up your house and turning it upside down and then doing the whole street. Can you imagine the chaos? All your roads, all your houses, all your infrastructure, everything's demolished. So you then rebuild it and you're just about getting everything back together again. And then a year later, wallop, either another spade or a rotavator comes along and does the same. So that network, that underground network, is really vital. You do need to dig if you've got a very compacted soil, but if you haven't, and you know, this is an allotment, so it will have been dug a gazillion times, so therefore it doesn't need it. So we can leave the microbes in place and just build the soil like nature does, with things on top of one another. So if you go to a forest, it has beautiful soil and not a bag of fertilizer in sight because it has built up. So we can do the same. We just need to kill some of these weeds. Now, if you've got really pernicious things like horsetail, the convolvulus, the morning glory vine, that type of stuff, you can use this technique, but they take a lot more persistence. You might have to cover the site for an entire year before you can cultivate it again. But with the weeds that Colin's got in his allotment plot, they're fine. A few months with the black cut plastic over it and they'll die down nicely. So I hope this episode has been helpful to you, and if you have any questions, do let me know. Now, my area of expertise is not normally weeds, it is garden design, and I teach people a quick and easy method of how to turn any garden into a beautiful space. So if you'd like to attend one of my free garden design classes, head on over to successfulgardendesigner.com/free-classes.